like to emphasize that this is not my only project, not my standalone project. Instead, this is a collaboration between me and Adinda Yusra. There, she's standing there, and had not it been for technicality requirement, she will also be here presenting. So this is this as much as a collaboration project, not a standalone and or personal. So we move. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's better. Okay, so we getting to the introduction. So this through various literature, it has been emphasized and well documented that small-scale shrimp farmers are highly exposed and ill-equipped for climate-driven crop failures. There's many studies emphasizing their vulnerability and their incapability in sustaining climate disruption. And also from the report by FAO, the Food Agriculture Organization, in 2023, they released a report titled The Impact of Disaster on Agriculture and Food Security, which emphasized the losses, 3.8 trillion losses due to crop failure from climate-related disasters in over 30 years, so from 1993 to 2023. So there's immense economic implication to such a widespread situation. And at the same time, there are groups that are very vulnerable in comprehending the situation. So why this matter? Why is this research established? First, from the report, the FAO report, aquaculture losses are not well documented. It's underreported, and it does not really account aquaculture losses from climate disruption. So there's a gap that we need to fill. And the report also emphasized that crop failure reduced significantly household income and food access, which threaten their livelihood and also their dignity to live. And this is our highlight for the research. We emphasize women's contribution in comprehending this situation. So in household resilience, they are often overlooked. And we in the next couple slides we are going to emphasize on why is it why the situation happened and how it happened on our finding. So based on that, our research problem, there are two research problems. First, we want to identify the impact of crop failure on shrimp farming household, and we also want to look how women in household their contribution in household during crop failure, with specific context in economic income and food provision. Okay, so the study area and the context. So we choose the Banyuwangi Regency as a study area because the interesting situation happening there, immense shrimp productivity, but very vulnerable in climate disaster. So yeah, there's a lot of immense production in shrimp farming, but it also the Regency also have high tidal flood risk. And to be specific, we conducted our research in Ringenputih village. As you can see at the map on the right, the village have a particular interesting situation where a vast aquaculture zone lie adjacent to mangrove and many natural agricultural resource. So this research emphasizes shrimp farming because it is the most prominent aquaculture type of livelihood in the village. And for the context, the research was conducted between June to October of 2025. Okay, this is still the background. We would like to emphasize that crop failure in shrimp farming is a climate-driven vulnerability. As this is the primary data that we gather, but this is not our finding. 100% of respondents experienced crop failure on the past year. So every household that we surveyed has lost a huge amount of yield due to climate-driven disruption. And we like to emphasize that the vulnerability is not, it's precisely because lack of research which limit resilience to climate disruption. First, low capital, which in turn make them forced to cultivate in vulnerable earthen ponds with consistent many pathogens that are not suitable for shrimp farming, and inadequate infrastructure and skill, which turn poor water quality, which prone to disease outbreak. Moreover, we also found that 70% of shrimp farmers that we surveyed reported that they had encountered tidal flooding, which disrupted their cultivation in the past year. But the severity varies by the embankment strength and the proximity to the coastal area and riverbank. So as you can see, we did verification from the government tidal flood risk, and we found that there are correlation which emphasize alignment between farmers' reported exposure and the government risk identification. Okay, so the method and the framework. Yeah, this research. We first started this research through 2 months of live-in to understand the local practice and tendencies. From that, we gather around information and design the survey. After that, we conduct a survey, which consists of closed-ended and open-ended question, which 34 households as participants. The data analysis, we use statistical tests to identify significance. We use JETSI lens to interpret woman's role. JETSI is a framework to realize the vulnerable groups within the social structure, such as women, disability person, and those are vulnerable by the climate disruption itself. And we use protein adequacy, calculated using the WHO FAO standard with age-based requirement. And the data we visualize through map, figures, table, charts, and scatter plots and narrative. We also use 2 frameworks. First, livelihood and diversification. This framework emphasizes the flexibility of household to conduct many different livelihood if one or the primary livelihood is under stress or under shock. And the second framework, we use women's role in adaptive capacity. So based on research by FAO, they found that women tends to be the cushion during household shocks. So they somewhat sacrifice their physical, their mental, and their responsibility to engage in activity which they are not accustomed to, but they did it so the household still maintain the basic level of provision, so they are not in inadequate situation. Okay, so this is the research limitation. So because of the method, because of the survey method, all the data collected were self-reported, so rely on memory and lack of proper formal or empirical documentation. So it is based only on their report. And so this is implicate the way that we store our data, clean our data, create our data set, and analyze the data itself. But what we would like to emphasize that the limitation is not significant to derive our findings, and we're still able to paint and emphasize the overlook of women within the household resilience during crop failure. Okay, so this is the findings. We're going to structure it in 3 sections. First, household condition, and then crop failure impacts and women contribution. Okay. So, apologies here if the slide is quite overwhelmed. If the slide overwhelmed you, but we'll go through this one by one. So we'll start from the left side. Based on our survey, we compiled that the household characteristic, and we found that the population pyramid resembled near stationary population, but it is dominated by productive and adolescent group. And the composition are very much scattered, but it is dominant in nuclear family, but there are some households who also have extended family living in the household. But what we would like to emphasize here in the employment, there are stream farmer, domestic work, alternative livelihood, and economically inactive. In this employment chart, there is a double roles of women. So women, they do domestic work, but they also engage in alternative livelihood. So there is like one woman who contribute to these 2 sides. In short, women's role, female members household have intertwined role where they do domestic duties, but they also engage in seasonal or regular work in agriculture, fishery, or trade sector. The domestic duty entail childcare and food preparation, and regular and seasonal work entail agriculture, fishery, and or trade sectors. And this is our main emphasis. This is our main finding. So all the stream farmers here, so we only survey stream farmer household, right? And all the stream farmers, they identify themselves as male. So the women, even though they have some contribution in helping, as you can see later on, as helping the stream farming, they aren't acknowledged as such as in the aquaculture. So their roles largely unrecognized in aquaculture. Okay. Moreover, we also find that alternative livelihood as a resilient strategy to reduce vulnerability to external shocks, which is in this case crop failure. And one more to emphasize that stream farmers household face high economic inactivity, and this is not because lack of job, but because members still in school, which increase education and nutrition burdens and expenditure. So we move to crop failure impact and on income and food access. Again, sorry for if the slides are overwhelming, but we start again from the left. So on average, the impact of crop failure it's devastating. On average, in farmer households suffer 50%, at least 53% capital loss per cycle. So half of their money lost because of crop failure. And as you can see, so we also take data to compare between between successful and failed harvest, and the margin, the comparison, it's between it's a very devastating. Okay, so we move to the right. As you can see, there aren't any much of difference between food access during crop failure and harvest failure. But if you look at the detail, there's a slight difference in terms of purchasing power when household experience crop failure and household have successful harvest. So in this case, and also based on interview, we gather that income is very crucial for food access, as most households rely on purchasing to access food. And we also could conclude that the household perceive that that crop failure impairs their food access because it's also decreased their purchasing power. Also, on the other hand, at the same time, it make economic loss, but it's also crop failure also lead to massive potential food loss. So we gather the average between the successful harvest and failed harvest. There's a very high gap between the yield of each type of cycle. So this is not the food loss, but potential food loss, which means So this, so in a way that this food that could be generated could actually help household food access of household in a situation where their food access is decreasing because of decrease in purchasing power. And then we go again. This is the baseline. So household food security and protein adequacy. So we run an analysis based on the survey. We ask question, and 90% of our respondents reported that they have food secure situation on the last past year. So they emphasize that they don't have any difficulty in accessing food in the past year, despite having a crop failure. Okay, yeah. So, but if we look deep in the nutrition intake, so we also ask each household what they consume within a month, and we normalize the number into days. So into day. So we have this situation where 76% of households suffer from protein inadequacy. And moreover, we also did a modeling, and we allocated 50% of the protein consumption of each household. And we still found like 11%, we allocated 50%, and we isolated the needs of protein to only adolescent. And even so, 11% of households still face severe protein inadequacy among adolescents. So lower income means higher risk of protein inadequacy. But we also found that seafood is the most common protein source in the household of shrimp farming household, which is rich in protein and low in saturated fat. Okay, so this is the main part, women contribution to household income during failure. So what we found was 17% of women are working during crop failure. And we run an average at two different scenarios where a household have women working, which is the actual situation, and the second scenario we take out women participation. As you can see, there's different gap with the one where women participate have much more income. However, after we run the statistical analysis, we found that women participation is not significant, which means another reason is influencing household income. And as you can see from distribution, it's very ugly. There are a lot of households where women, household which doesn't have women working, but also have high income. And one of the reasons for the insignificance, as we found, women have lower wage to their male counterparts. So as you can see here, women have wage below 1 million. And these livelihood activities, as we emphasized before, is agriculture, trade, fishing, and shrimp export. Also, we also found that there are households which have women working abroad and sending remittance, which is very crucial for household income. And this is the second. So first one is economic income, and second is on food provision. So we found that there is a tendency, 12% of shrimp which they produce on yield are kept for domestic use or gift. So for household consumption or neighbor, so to give to neighbor or close family. And during crop failure, there are on average 3 kilograms of shrimp set aside for household consumption, which enough to meet a child's need for about 20 days. So this, and women is very important in this part because they manage and allocated. They are the main actor in managing and allocating shrimp foods. So they prepare shrimp food and also they setting aside shrimp food during harvest for household consumption. And as you can see on the baseline also, women's role are prominent, not only in household provision, but also, household food provision, but also food purchasing. So they don't only don't only prepare food, but they also the one who are purchasing the food. Okay, Okay, so that basically conclude our presentation. What we want to emphasize here that shrimp farmers have somewhat very unique climate resilient situation where they engage in livelihood diversification in comprehending crop failure. But it is we want to emphasize that this is not something to be rejoice. It is not something to be celebrate for it is a really it is a really concerning situation where crop failure lead to people having to salvage and having to salvage anything and not their main livelihood. Livelihood diversification, and we also found that hidden protein insufficiency and comprehending the crop failure, which affect food access and also shrimp food availability. If crop failure are prolonged, the hidden protein insufficiency is a very concerning situation. And moreover, based on our situation, even if the protein availability is allocated 50% for adolescent, there are still some households there that are have protein insufficiency. And this is our our recommendation. So based on our research, we would like to emphasize that there is a need for research initiative to empower women to create a sustainable food system. For their role is very important itself in the food system, not only for household resilience, but also for nurturing growth of adolescent. So empowering women, we think that it is important in shrimp farming livelihood, and their overlooked role in aquaculture is somewhat problematic. So I think that's all that we would like to emphasize. Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, Afan, for your presentation. Very thoroughly focusing on the roles of women, especially in shrimp farming. Is very focused, and we usually overlook or ignore the roles of women in the food system. Although as Afan's research study, we found that women roles is very important, not only in the household, but also to be like pillow for the family shocks during income turbulence. So thank you very much, Afan, for your presentation. For those who want to ask Afan, please stay tuned, and then we will continue to more macro level side, because in here Rafi will discuss about the investigating climate resilience in Indonesia food security policies and program. So we have problem here, very focused research, but we also have like a macro side research from Raffi. Please, Raffi, the floor is yours.
Check. Sorry, how many the time allocation for me? Alrighty. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And in this opportunity, I would like to present my study titled "Investigating Climate Resilience in Indonesia's Policies and Programs." Yeah, food security has always been important in Indonesia's policies and programs, but we often understated how food security and climate resilience has a very tight connection. How the climate resilience of the food system contributes to the food security, and how the food security contributes to the climate resilience of the community. And yeah, when we talk about food security and climate resilience, it's not only about farmers, it's not only about production, but it's also about distribution, consumption, well, everything under the sun, as previously mentioned. And it's about all of us, including all the population in Indonesia, particularly as consumers. And so this study attempts to understand how Indonesian national government define and manage food security and climate resilience integration through its key sectoral policy and programs. Okay, so in this study, I departed from framework developed by Nicholas Rose and Taniali, particularly on the concepts of problematization and rendering technical. In terms of problematization, it is defined as how we identify flaws and deficiencies, and rendering technical is how those identified flaws and deficiencies is framed as technical problems which requires technical interventions. It also includes the dichotomy between technical problems, which is a problem able to be engineered using inputs and technologies, and also political problems, which includes political economic relationships, including how power rights and interests influence the food security and climate resilience policy landscape in Indonesia. And in here, I didn't desk analysis on national government's policy planning and also some of the regulations, and I also did some case study, particularly the field work in Gresik food estate site, and also literature review on other more well-known sites of food estate. President Prabowo Subianto has been like doing a revolutionary change in his cabinet. He is developing a new coordinating Ministry of Food Affairs, which basically show us how Prabowo really think that food security is one of the top priorities in Indonesia's policies and programs. But this also becomes one of the limitations of my study, because many of the policy planning for Prabowo tenure has not been developed yet, so some of the documents are still relying on the previous planning documents from Joko Widodo's presidency. Okay, in terms of the policy documents, Indonesian government has been very comprehensive and very thorough in how they problematize the technical sides of the food security and climate resilience. However, while there are a lot of problems already being recognized, like droughts, floods, change in temperature and water supplies, and also how the early warning technology are still in early development and very insufficient, let's say, but they're also still more highlighted in the production, in the farming sites, rather than post-productions, including processing, storage, and distributions. And in terms of political problems and interventions, it exists. It's not that it's been missing. It exists, but it's less highlighted than technical problems and interventions. And sometimes some of the interventions are not supported by comprehensive problem statements. For instance, in one of the policy planning documents, they mention about strengthening institutional arrangements. But in the previous chapter, there is no mentioning about how is the current state of the institutional arrangement. What are the weaknesses? What are the weak points? It's not clearly defined. And one of the findings from the documents is that there are some missed opportunities in integrating climate resilience by design. For instance, food estate in the Indonesia's midterm planning document, the only goal is to increase national production, while we can actually like integrating many aspects of climate resilience on those goals for the food estate programs. Okay, and the dichotomy between technical and political problems has created, well, the first one I already mentioned earlier about the lack of explicit statements regarding underlying political problems. And it also creates some ambiguity on the government intention. Did they try to fix the existing problem, or did they just, oh, there's no problem, but we just want to improve that? That's a very different approach, and there are some ambiguities on that. And there are 4 factors of the problem of political problems have been observed. The first one is that Indonesia's focus on technical problems and interventions is not new. It's always been like that, even since Sukarno and Suharto era. In Sukarno, he talked about mechanization, the use of superior varieties. And also in Suharto era, there are some efforts to food self-sufficiency, which to some extent was able to be achieved. And also the second one is that multi-stakeholder processes, while it's been very advantageous, well, there are many advantages, but it's also to some extent having the politicizing effect, because like more inclusive the process is, more compromistic it is, because like there are many stakeholders to be satisfied. And also the third one is that the institutional arrangement has not been very sufficient. For instance, the Ministry of Agriculture they have the resource and capabilities to solve many of the technical problems by themselves, but not political problems. Like there are many social economic problems which is beyond the responsibility and also the resource availability for those ministries to be act by themselves. And also the fourth factor is that the top-down intervention designs, which to some extent is influenced by the needs of time and resource effective and efficiency, which resulted in selective archiving of knowledge, particularly on local knowledge and also some of the political problems. And all these observations can be illustrated by one picture, let's say. Yeah, so when political problems exist, the key stakeholders like, I didn't see that. And it's not that they don't know, they just pretend that they didn't see that. And even worse, it's not only happening on 1 or 2 or 3 institutions, it's been happening across the bureaucracies from top to the bottom. Those, well, all of them are saying, I didn't see that. And those are the symptoms of institutionalized ignorance of political realities in Indonesia's food security policy and programs. How it's very normal for us to, okay, let's focus on technical problems and interventions. It's been very normal. It's been built into operations and institutions. And the question remains, is it intentional? Is it like, oh, because like we often say, oh, maaf mas, SOP-nya sudah seperti itu. It's like, it's been like that for years and we can just continue that? Or is it unintentional or is it like part of the strategic ignorance? Is that, oh, we are benefiting from ignoring the political aspect? Well, or is it both? And to what extent? It will be the remaining questions. And there are some implications towards climate resilience. Is that particularly food security and climate resilience is still seen as a separate issue, and therefore, even though the stakeholders probably have the goodwill to, okay, we want to change that, we want to be better, but oftentimes they are not fully informed about what's happening on the ground. Some because of the selective archiving of knowledge, and also that's because how the process itself is still flawed and imperfect. Okay, and yeah, for the conclusion, Indonesia is still progressing towards sustainable development, and it's very important for us to integrate political problems and interventions into the policy and programs. It's not that technical or political is like competing between each other, but we have to solve both of them. Like if we are solving only technical, but not adequately recognizing political problems and intervening that adequately, it may be less impactful than it should be, or even worse, it could amplify the existing inequalities which happens across the society. And so probably, so the reflection question for all of us is that what can we do, and also realistically, what can we do? Because of course we are not Superman, we cannot do everything using our own hands. We need each other and teamwork and everything to be succeeded. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Rafi, for such an insightful presentation. I just remember that in our cluster, Sustainable Food System, we always talk about the iceberg model, where actually the one that can transform the food system is actually to know the mental models of the problem. So ignorance may be one of the mental models that have to be transformed in our government, because maybe we during this disaster, this past few days, we read about the disasters in Sumatra, and we think about we already in the ecological crisis, but why the government is still ignorance on these matters? Maybe the mental model is actually need to be transformed first to have like a really clear transformation in Indonesia, especially for food system. Thank you very much, Rafi, for reminding us about that. So now we are opened the question and answer session. For those to want to ask, maybe one or two participants from this room. Yeah, first one, and then the second one we will open until 3. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. Maybe from this young researcher here. Mas siapa? Silakan, Mas. Mungkin dikasih mic-nya. Please provide the mic. Mic, 3 mics is in here, maybe. Thank you, Avan. Yeah, you can introduce yourself first, maybe from what institution, and after that, maybe the questions.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Muhammad Sabil Al-Muhajirin. I'm an individual researcher, but I'm currently working as FSC certification at local NGO. So I want to ask a question for Mas Afan. Yeah. You have mentioned that the factor that influence climate resilience is women participation, but I just want to explore other factor that might contribute to climate resilience beside the woman participation. And have you found a literature that mention other factor that contribute to this climate resilience, and how much women participation contribute on this resilience better, no, other than the other factor? And to what is
Raffi?
Mas Raffi, I just want to ask about our government decision to leverage the food estate. How do you think about it? As it is maybe enough for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe we give the time for Afan and then Raffi to answer the questions.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Mas Sabin, yeah. Thank you for the question, Mas Sabin. I think that's a really important question. So our research based on Wahana Research Program. So it's a program of incubation for young researcher, which we conduct a research on climate disruption and its impact to shrimp farming, and food security. So based on our that presentation was a little bit of our finding. So based on our whole finding, there are a lot of types of activities that household do to maintain somewhat a normal situation during crop failure. So the men also engage in work. There are some kind of social safety net where a group of shrimp farmer working together in one shrimp ponds, which in that shrimp farm in that shrimp pond, the situation is much better in technicality and also in capital provision. So the likelihood of successful is much higher there. But what we want to emphasize is why women resilience matter, because it's overlooked. So based on our research, I don't think we would find any explanation on how important women role in household resilience during a situation where severe economic loss happen. If we don't talk to the women itself, so we actually utilize Get Sea Lands, which in a way that our survey not only interviewed the male but also the woman, and from that we found that women engage in many activities that support household resilience during climate disruption. And what we also want to emphasize why women here is more, arguably it's more important than men in household resilience, because they do two works. First, domestic, and second, there's also economic income generation. So their role is important. First, they maintain stability in food provision, in household, inter-household situation. They also do daycare, child care, and at the same time, when their male counterparts is not able to have income that can sustain the household, women have the capacity and also the competency to bring somewhat an economic income that can support household food security. Though we like to emphasize that on our presentation, their contribution is not significant in income generation because their wage is much lower than their male counterparts. I think that's.
Okay, thank you very much, Afan. Maybe just want to clarify. Do you want to ask about other variables other than women's roles or participation for the climate resilience situation? Is that your question?
Yes.
Are you okay with the answer from Afan? Do you want another clarification on that?
Maybe enough for this time.
Okay.
I will
You will maybe discuss
Yeah.
after this. Okay, and then Raffi, the young man asked you about the food estate and how your opinion about that, using your presentation as the benchmark.
Alrighty. So about the food estate, I should be a bit careful about this. But actually, the reason. No, that's okay. The reason behind that is actually very reasonable because, like Indonesia, still has a lot of demand gap in terms of food, but the way we do the food asset program is the thing that I think could be much better, especially what I already mentioned on the slide about how we can use food asset with like such a huge area being included. We can use that not only to improve production, but also how to improve the local environmental and climate condition, on how to prioritize the fulfillment of commodity demanded by local communities, or how to not only focusing on producing those foods, but also using government's onward hilirisasi. We can also develop much more advanced processing, storage, and distribution sites, especially when we learn on, in my study, I learned about Gresik Food Asset Site, which is which is very different compared to most of the food asset that we know, that they already have well-established cultivation, but not quite good processing, storage, and distribution. And so, yeah, I think the reason behind that is very reasonable, but the way we do that should and could be improved to be more better and more holistic, let's say. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafi, for your answer. And then maybe the second young lady here want to ask? Yeah, please. Yes, please.
My name is Arifa, and I work for a corporate sustainability team for one of the timber and biomass company here in Jakarta. First, I have one question each for Mas Afan and also Mas Rafi. The first one would be for Mas Afan. Yeah, thank you so much for conducting the research focusing on women's role. My question would not be directly linked to the substances, but I'm curious about how do you navigate the the research process as a male researcher, focusing on women's role, because at least from my experiences, usually it's the women's researcher doing the women's research, and it's good knowing that it's not gendered based. So yeah, one for Mas Afan and another one for Mas Rafi. It's a bit frustrating to know all that fact happening in our country. From your findings and probably your own recommendations, what would be the most feasible kinds of like interventions that can be a slap in the face for all of those ignorance politicians, I might say. Yeah, that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Alifa. Just to make this her questions more challenging, can you also incorporate your position as a young researcher in your answer, so that we can also give this summarize this for our policy memo and policy contribution. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mbak. Sorry, Mbak Alifa. Yeah, thank you for the question, Mbak Alifa. Excellent. That was an excellent question. The way that I navigate the research, so this research based on 2 months of field work. So during that time, I engaged with the local communities, did live in, sharing food, and also doing their activities. As a male researcher, I found that there's a immense lack of interaction between me and women in the village. So that's something that is during the participant observation. That's something that I acknowledge, and using Get Lens, my lack of interaction could mean that women are underrepresented in the society. And afterwards, so after participation observation, we did like a survey, and we incorporate as much as question that can be answered by women. So in this household, what the women were doing, and thankfully I was accompanied by Adin. So this is the research was not my standalone project, so it's based on 2 person, me as a male and Adin as a female. So she helped a lot in connecting with the women household, and I acknowledge that me as a male have a lot of social barrier to be to engage with women in such a informal capacity, in an informal situation. So that's something that I acknowledge. So the presence of a women researcher is important if we are discussing about research about women. I think that's one of them. And second, as a young researcher, this is something that I want to actually share with you guys. I don't think that the participant observation, 2 months of participant observation would have been done in in somewhat conducive way if I'm not a young researcher. So first, I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a social burden of engaging with people in my home city. So I only have my family and a daily contact through WhatsApp chat is enough. I have the physicality of somewhat young people, so I could accompany farmers, and afterwards I could go again accompanying someone in mangrove forest. Or so basically, being a young researcher is it levers us to be more engaged to the community, and I think that's something that we should emphasize. Yeah.
So thank you for the questions. About what can we do? Basically nothing. No, but because ignorance, institutionalized ignorance with such a long history and such a massive scale requires a lot of power and influence to be able to significantly transform it. But a little thing that probably we can do is that as a researcher, if we are involved in a policy advocacy, or we are talking to government or probably politicians or other key stakeholders, don't use our own language, using their language. Like when we are talking about politicians, let's say how this change could affect their electoral acceptance rate or something like that. This, in that sense, it could be more acceptable for them because, yeah, they come from different environment than us. They come from different school of thought than us, and so if we are to insist to using, but the evidence says so, but these experts say so, sometimes it just don't really make sense for them, and it's not their fault to some extent. So I think it's very essential to understand your audience and communicate that in a language that is more compatible. Like as Bu Afu said, science communications is really that important to ensure that our idea could be accepted by those who are in charge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ravi. Such a mature and wise answer. I'm just quite surprised. He answered about talking with the same language as a politician, because usually Gen Z use your language to everyone else at the same level. But so it's a really wise answer, Rafi. So we have another one questions, please, Mbak, from. Yeah, that's the mic.
Let me introduce myself first. My name is Anggun. I'm currently studying at the Australian National University, and I'm very thankful for the Mas Afan and Mas Rafi for the insightful presentation. For the first question, maybe I would like to ask Mas Afan first, because since your analysis shows that women intensify their labor during crop failure and already actually having that kind of the double burden from the productive and reproductive activities, like how do you think, like how can livelihood diversification be designed so it enhance resilience without increasing the woman's labor burden, especially in a context where their wage is actually remain low? And maybe for Mas Rafi, maybe a little bit the same question with the previous one, but maybe like I would like to clarify a bit more. Like your findings show that climate resilience failure in Gresik are not only technical, but actually like deeply political, especially like with political asymmetry and also like power dynamics in there. Like based on the interview you conduct, like what do you see as the most realistic institutional entry point to politically integrate climate resilience so that local knowledge and also like the stakeholder understanding can actually influence policy? I mean, like what do you think, like which government level, like national, provincial or district, seems like the most feasible institutional entry point to integrate climate resilience politically rather than just technically? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mbak. I think I will give the time for Rafi first to answer the question.
Okay, so thank you, Mbak Gun. So I guess there are at least 3 persons from ANU at this room. I don't know if there is anyone else from ANU that is under the seat or something. I don't know. So what is the most feasible entry points for integrating climate resilience? I guess that I don't, to be honest, it's beyond my studies, so I think I cannot give a very meaningful insights on that, but I would say that the national, provincial, and district government are all having their their role and their potential in how they integrate climate resilience into the, let's say, food policy and programs, particularly in the national level. Of course, they have all the resources, all the capabilities, but they, as I mentioned earlier, even one ministry cannot do it alone. So there a lot of teamwork will be needed to use national government as an entry point. And also the second one is that when we are talking about policy making in national level, of course there are some reductionism. Of course there are some local contexts which has been simplified and not really captured in the national level policy making, and that's where the provincial and district government would come into play, and then advising the national stakeholders, or like giving additional information on, oh, this is what happened in our area. Probably it's a bit different than what you think it is, and so I think that this is the best way to do it in this area. But of course, the provincial and district governments themselves has been suffered from the lack of resource and capabilities, and so that's why we cannot use only national government or only provincial or district governments to be the entry point. But those vertical integration will be very important and very crucial for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Anggun. Oh yeah, thank you for the question, Mbak Anggun. So yeah, the answer is also basically outside of the scope of our research. So we mainly discuss the problem, but on our research we also use literature study. We draw on many studies to emphasize the solution on crop failure, and on how we could design the livelihood framework to be more sustainable and also accommodating to women. what we synthesized was this the way that we could empower women. First, we acknowledge their contribution, their competency, and as our research demonstrate, their competency lays beyond the domestic work, but also income generation, and therefore we should first acknowledge and empower them. And how we could empower them, but disclaimer, this is still based on literature study. So many literature study emphasize the collective action in empowering livelihood diversification, not also livelihood diversification, but also optimizing stream farming. So first, by acknowledging women's contribution, we could put them in the framework of empowerment and collective action. So women have role in basically, if we want to design a forest farmer group or stream farmers group, we could accommodate women there, and realizing that they have the competency. If we want to be more specific, one of the finding was women engage a lot in trade sectors. There's a couple of huge suppliers which are women suppliers, so they intake the basically if people have fish, they become the supplier and they sell it into the traditional market. And I think this is somewhat qualitative data. I think women have more leverage to negotiate. You know, in market, in traditional market, they have more charisma to get better deals, and that's something that we should acknowledge. Basically, what we should acknowledge is women competency in income generation. Yeah. So thank you for the question.
So thank you very much, Afan and Rafi, for your answer. Is there any more questions in the room for our panelists here? Is there any more questions? Okay, maybe just to summarize the finding of these two young researchers, we are very thankful to hear their research and findings and their study here. Maybe to summarize, for in the food system, we are really need to acknowledge the roles of the women in the food system, especially in the production side, because it's really overlooked, and then maybe not much of contribution that can be calculated there, but their contribution in the care economy for the family, and also they're such a like a blanket apart when the shocks coming into the family is really important for our food system, because our food system is everything under the sun. And the second one is also very important. Rafi study is something that we face day by day in our subcluster, sustainable food system. It's actually the contributing factors that make the climate resilience in Indonesia food security policies and programs still lag. Yes, the first one is the perpetual emphasis on national food security and self-sufficiency only, the politicizing effects of multi-stakeholder processes, institutional arrangement that marginalize political problem, and this is what we always see day by day is a lack of a systemic recognition of local knowledge that really actually have so much information for food system and how we can transform that. So thank you very much, Afan and Rofi, for your study, and we really hope that in the near future we can see you in the newspaper, in the media, talk about how we can transform our food system, and then you still walk in this road. So please do not be the political corrupted one. So thank you very much. We will give them applause, a big applause for them. Thank you very much. And after this, maybe I will just give this maybe any information or announcement from the committee. Thank you very much.
Please give one round of applause, everyone. Thank you so much. From the committee, we have a little bit of information. So we will be going to have lunch for around 1 hour till 1:20 p.m. And then we will be continuing our panel session at 1:20 p.m. sharp. So be ready to have yours. If if you want to go to breakout room 1, 2, or in the ballroom, please. And for lunch, you are welcome to have your lunch here or bring it to the ballroom while listening to the session right now. So just go bring your lunch here or just walk around and see the posters. All right. Thank you so much and have a good lunch.
Recording stopped. Halo. Halo, tes. Halo, tes. Selamat siang. Terima kasih.
Chu.
Okay. Good afternoon, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to International Young Environmental Scientist Conference. And today I will be moderating parallel panel number 5, Advancing Behavior Change Strategies Toward Healthier
Recording in
Diets
progress.
and or Reduced Food Loss and Waste. Please introduce myself. My name is Gina Karina. You can call me Gina. I am the Senior Manager for Sustainable Food Systems at WRI Indonesia. So without further ado, I will welcome all the speakers to come up front. First, I will call for Hosiana Simamora. Please come up front and you can sit over there. And Miss Anuri Rosita, I think Miss Anuri is joining online from Zoom. And then Mr. Peter Zandia Rudian, please come on front. And then Mr. Muhammad Sabilal Muhajirin, please come up front. Thank you. Okay, so welcome once again for all the speakers. Sorry, can Miss Anuri respond if you can already hear us clearly?
Yes, I can
Oh,
hear
okay.
good.
Good, all right. Thank you so much. So, again, welcome to this session. This session will be talking about more on the behavior change side towards the sustainable food system that we wanted, particularly on changing our dietary preference to a healthier one, and also to reduce food loss and waste. So here we are having 4 speakers, and each of you will be given 10 minutes to give a presentations, and then later on we will open for questions and answer.
Just a brief background maybe. So talking about food systems, of course we are talking about a broad spectrums. We are talking from the production side, distribution side, and then at the end of course also the consumption, and also on the waste management. How to make a change, to how to transform the current food systems that we are having, is relying not only by the producers, the distributors, but also from the people itself, from us, from the consumers. And for the consumers, the only things that could be effective is that to change their perspective, to change their preference towards something that is more healthier, more sustainable. And that is why advancing behavior change strategies is an important things in transforming our food systems. So without further ado, I will welcome Ms. Hosiana Simamora to give her presentation, Driving Household Behavior Change for Food Waste Reduction in Bandung, Indonesia. Your time is yours.
Check. Thank you, Ms. Gina. Good afternoon, everyone. We all know that wasting food is wrong, right? Yet every day maybe we still do it. If knowledge isn't the barrier, then what truly drives people to change or not to change their behavior? My name is Hosiana Simamora from World Resources Institute Indonesia, and today I want to present our study on driving household behavior change for food waste reduction in Bandung, Indonesia. And this work was undertaken within the Urban Futures Project with support from Humanist Foundation. Bandung generates 1.4 tons of waste every day, and 45% of this is food waste. And that equals roughly 67 sacks of rice thrown away every single day, and mostly it comes from households. And this crisis became visible when the city declared waste emergency after the Sarimukti landfill exploded and temporarily shut down. And this event forced the city to stop sending waste to the landfill and making household level reduction even more urgent. Bandung has implemented various interventions, but mostly in informational and structural intervention. The missing gap is there's no behavioral intervention, the component that drives people motivation and ability to change. Our study used mixed method quasi-experimental pre-post design with 263 households in the Nyangseret sub-district. We combined quantitative and qualitative data. We conducted baseline and line food waste quantification using the National Food Waste Standard Calculation Method that published by Bapanas and Koalisi Sistem Pangan Lestari. And then we conducted weekly food waste weighing and survey. And for qualitative data, we conducted in-depth interview and FGD with the residents. And this, with this mixed approach, help us to understand not only how much the food waste decreased, but also why the change occurred. Before deciding on any intervention, we observe to understand the system in Nyangseret. We did it through interview with local stakeholders and waste workers, and then we visit the communal facilities, mapping the existing waste flow, and identify the barriers. And from this process, we found several key local insights. The household cannot compose independently because of very limited space, and then they have a socioeconomic constraint that mostly they come from the low middle income families, and then they already have urban farming and make it house, but recently overcapacity. And from these findings, we try to build the integrated system, like a segregated waste collection schedule, assigned waste collectors, weekly weighing and tracking, and food waste route to mega and urban farm. And based on this, we designed 3 types of intervention, behavioral intervention. The first is economic incentive. The second one is social competition. The third is nudge. Next. Okay. The first intervention is economic incentive, that we use simple coupon as a visual trackers, that when the household consistently short their wastage time 3 times a week, they could earn 1-star stickers on their coupons. And at the end of the intervention, the household who have 6 until 8 stars on their coupon could redeem for a staple food package based on their reward tier. And the idea was straightforward. When people get clear benefits, they are more willing to take part. The second intervention is social competition. We use community pride and set up a competition among the neighborhood units based on their weekly foodways measurement and participation, and the result were shared publicly in the community online groups, creating a strong sense of ownership and positive peer pressure. And the third intervention is nudge through poster and stickers that we place in a high visibility area, and we tested 4 types of messages. The first one is local fact that we convert from our baseline data. This local fact is work best, the most impactful one, because the residents felt relevant because most of them is from the low middle income families, so wasting food is matters for them. And the second impactful one is religious message that we know that from the local key insights that this household have a strong religious value. The third is simple reminder, and the fourth is impact of local foodways, and we convert from our baseline data too. The nudge work because they feel relevant and not forced. After 8 weeks of implementation, we observe a shift of behavior practices. There are 52% of them consistently short and reduce their food waste at the source, and then 32% reduction of food waste in Yang Seret sub-district. Based our online analysis, Yang Seret sub-district can prevent yearly losses in nutrition, economic, and GHG emission. And for our behavior analysis, knowledge alone isn't enough. People will change their behavior when they feel motivated, they have a supportive system, and the solution fits their daily reality. And based on our study, shows that behavior change when aligned with people real motivation, challenges, and cultural value can significantly reduce household food waste. And people, when feel motivated, trust the system, and use the solution that fits with their daily reality, the behavior change can become something that sustain, not only something they try once. And for the recommendation, the first, we can embed this behavior change into the policy to complement the structural and informational efforts. The second, we can build trust through reliable systems, so the residents believe that their efforts are truly matters. The third is we can design for local realities and avoid one-size-fits-all approaches. The fourth, we can strengthen the rules and enforcement through waste regulation to sustain household motivation and participation. The last one is we can scale what works with monitoring. In terms, we can expand the successful community-based models while tracking long-term impacts. And at the end of the day, food waste is not just a system problem, it's a human behavior problem. And changing behavior requires collaboration, creativity, and empathy. And I want to thank to the team behind this project who worked together, support the implementation, and made this change possible. And finally, last but not least, I want to invite you all to start with a simple act today. Just finish the food on your plate, because every plate we finish is one step toward a more just and resilient futures. That's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hossi. It's very interesting to learn that food waste can be addressed through building motivations by the people, and then it can eventually change the way they see the food waste, and they can start to reduce it voluntarily. Thank you very much. So I will call for the next presentation. Ms. Anuri Rosita, joining us through Zoom from Japan, if I'm not mistaken. Ms. Anuri, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Can we change the screen? All right, Ms. Anuri, the time is yours. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for not being able to attend in person. So my name is Anuri. I'm a research associate from National Institute for Environmental Study, or NIST, Japan. On behalf of my co-authors, I would like to present our initial results on the studies on socioeconomic impact from shifting to sustainable food consumption to meet Indonesia's net zero emission target. So Indonesia, as a developing country, is still expecting an increasing of food consumption along with our undernutrition issue in the country. And this situation can potentially be a setback to our country's net zero vision, because increasing food demand means increasing land demand for agriculture expansion. While the producer side of mitigation activity has been well covered under Indonesia's long-term strategy, the consumer side of shifting towards sustainable and healthy diet has not yet been explored. So this is becoming our motivation to assess the environmental and socioeconomic impact from shifting food consumption under Indonesia's long-term strategy. Our study is using Asia-Pacific integrated model of computable general equilibrium model. This is a macroeconomic model, and the most common structure of the model is that we have several function blocks to depict different economic activities. And to align with our study objective, we slightly modify the model structure. We set an exogenous settings for historical food consumption to be able to project future food demand pathways in this national level model. We try to simulate the model from 2016 until 2060 as part of the net zero target for Indonesia. The data input that we use in these models comprise of socioeconomic data. This is the main data that we use to develop the basic structure of the model. We also use food-related data to be able to project future food demand. And in addition to that, we also use land-related data to feed the information on land activity and land condition in the base year, and JG emission-related data, which comprise of JG inventory at the national level and emission factor for the mitigation activities. In this study, we consider three main different scenarios. The first one is the business as usual, or BAU. Under the BAU scenario, there will be no mitigation activities. We also consider low carbon compatible with Paris target, or LCCP. This scenario is the one that aligns with Indonesia's vision towards net zero emission in 2060. The BAU and LCCP will adopt a similar food demand pathway, which is conventional trajectory, which following the historical trend on food consumption. We try to also accommodate one additional scenario, which we call as LCCP plus sustainable and healthy diet. LCCP plus will not just combining the mitigation policies, but also sustainable and healthy consumption for future food demand. In this study, we only try to cover the mitigation activities for agriculture sectors, which based on the national guideline for net zero vision on agriculture sectors, the government will try to implement mitigation activity for rice field sectors, for livestock sectors, and also the reduction on fertilizer use. In this study, there will be two main different food demand trajectory. The first one is the conventional trajectory. The conventional trajectory will follow the historical trend, which we assume there will be no behavioral changes. So the total food demand will be increasing sharply from 2,135 kilocalorie per capita per day in 2016 to become 2,735 kilocalorie in 2060. The animal source of food and consumption on fruits and vegetables also increase following the income growth. We try to also introduce a sustainable and healthy diet. In this study, we try to define sustainable healthy diet as a healthy and environmentally mindful consumption to avoid overconsumption behavior. In this study, we try to minimize the food intake to become 2,300 kilocalories per capita per day up until 2060 simulations. And in this sustainable and healthy diet, we assume that there will be a slower growth of consumption for animal source of food and fruits and vegetables compared to the conventional trajectory. The sustainable and healthy diet also rely heavily on whole food compared to the conventional trajectory that mostly consuming processed food and also non-home cooked. In this study, we also try to incorporate the food loss and the food waste. The food loss, we will try to accommodate the baseline rate and sustainable rate. The sustainable rate will be assumed that the reduction rate will be 2 times higher than the baseline rate. The share of the food waste to the total food demand will be assumed following the FAO assumptions for 2050 future food pathway. In this slide, you can see that this is the healthy diet profile that we try to accommodate in our study. We try to refer to the National Food Agency Law number 11/2023 about National Desirable Dietary Pattern or National DDP. There are two diagram bars in this slide. The right-hand side is showing the healthy diet profile. The left-hand side is showing the current diet in 2016. In this study, we try to follow the DDP guidelines, which is there will be a 50% calorie share coming from the grain groups, and then 12% coming from animal-based for protein intake, 5% from the plant-based groups, and 60% calorie share from the vegetables and foods groups. And to be able to estimate the future food demand, we try to use a food income and food price elasticity as a behavioral tool to catch the shifting behavior of food demand in the future. For the food income elasticity, we use our own calculation. However, for the food price elasticity, we use from the existing literature. And in this study, there are three different food demand by scenario. As you can see in this slide, the BIU and LCCP is adopting similar conventional trajectory. So this is the reasons why the food demand for these two scenarios is almost similar. The LCCP plus is the one that offers the most ideal food proportion in terms of the carbohydrate source, protein source, and fiber source of foods. And in total, LCCP plus also result in the lowest food demand to avoid the overconsumption and to maintain the healthy level. From the macroeconomic model, the first result that we try to observe is the GDP. From the results from the simulation of the model, we found that the LCCP scenarios that just implementing the mitigation policy will be leading to the GDP loss around 0.1%. And when we combine the mitigation policy with the shifting behavior of food demand, there will be higher GDP loss, which is around 1%. In terms of the macroeconomic structure, there will be no difference among scenarios, but as you can see from the graph, from 2016 to 2060, we will much more rely on import products. However, in terms of the total, the LCCP plus will have a lower household consumption compared to the other scenarios on BAU and LCCP. We also try to observe how does the mitigation policies and shifting behavior on food demand affecting sectoral activities. As you can see from this slide, there will be a variation on the rise of sectoral outputs from 44% to 500%. However, under the LCCP scenario, we try to introduce mitigation policy and make it more efficient for the land resource to produce economic activity. So therefore, the LCCP scenario can produce slightly higher sectoral activities compared to the BAU. Under the LCCP plus scenario, the behavior changes cause a reduction on food demand. Therefore, this scenario is generating the most least intensive food sectoral activity compared to the other scenarios. The last results that we try to observe from the model is about the agriculture GHG emissions. Under the BAU scenario, the GHG emission for agriculture sector will increase rapidly and reach around 341 million tons of CO2 equivalent in 2060. If we implemented the mitigation policies and measure, in 2060 there will be emission reduction around 57 million tons CO2 equivalent And when we try to combine the mitigation policy and behavioral changes on food demand, there will be additional emission reduction for around 31 million tons CO2. And following the result, you can see that the conventional trajectory of food consumption in Indonesia is likely to be increased in the future. Mitigation policies and measures can reduce 57 million tons of CO2 emission, but when we combine the mitigation policy with behavioral changes, we can get additional 31 million tons CO2 emission reduction in total. However, as you can also observe from the result, the GDP loss coming from the combination of mitigation policies and behavioral changes on food demand under LCC people scenario is much higher compared to just doing the mitigation policies alone. So to counter the potential negative impacts on socioeconomics, we suggested policies that aiming to increase household income and to maintain food price in the market to make the sustainable and healthy diet affordable and feasible in the future. So that is all for my presentation. I'm welcoming every feedback and suggestion. I will hand back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anori. That's a very interesting presentations as well, connecting the way we consume our food or dietary preference with the emission and how to cut down our GHG emissions. Very interesting. Thank you very much. We will come back with the questions later after all the presentation. Thank you. Moving forward, I will invite Mr. Peter Zandia Rudian to share about psychological factors as predictors of hotel staff behavioral intention to participate in surplus food donations. The time is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gina. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Usually, hotel in Indonesia serve buffet until 10 a.m. But have you ever thought where all the leftover foods goes after 10 a.m.? Do the hotel just throw it away, or is there any other alternatives? I'm Peter Sandi Rudian from WRI Indonesia. This is our team research about psychological predictor of behavioral intention towards surplus food donation among hotel staff, a case study in Bandung. This work was undertaken within the Urban Futures Project with support from Humanis Foundation. Indonesia faces food waste problem, and around 8% of food waste generated from hotel, restaurant, and cafe is still edible. Bandung also face the same problem with around 15% of food waste from hotel is still edible. Hospitality activity in Bandung contributes to $1 billion to Bandung economics. However, this hospitality contribution also contributes to more generation of food waste. This could happen because most of hotels in Bandung still offers the surplus food, still offers the breakfast buffet style. Breakfast buffet style increase the food production and also potentially increase the food waste generation from the hotel. However, we can reduce the food waste from the hotel with donating or redistribute the surplus food to the people who in need. For now, in Bandung, only a few hotels adopt this donation program due to internal hotel policy and also food safety concern. In this research, we aim to understand the hotel staff intention to increase adoption of food donation. We focus on how psychological factors and also how socio-demographic factors influence hotel staff participation in surplus food donation. We use the theory of planned behavior from ASEAN 1991. We hypothesize that attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavior control influence the intention of hotel staff to participate in surplus food donation. And we also hypothesize that socio-demographic characteristic and informational background indirectly influence the intention of hotel staff to participate in surplus food donation. We collected the data from 157 respondents and from 57 hotels. Most of our respondents are from 3-star hotel, and we collected the data from November to December 2024. We collected the data by structured interview using the questionnaire. We designed the questionnaire by embedded this question about psychological factor, about donation scheme, and also socio-demographic background. We also asked the hotel staff preferences in handling food waste. We asked them to rank the food waste handling method from the most preferred to the least preferred method. And then we analyze the data by, the first thing to do is to do normality test. Apparently the data of hotel staff intention is skewed, so we use the logistic regression to do the analysis, then followed by statistical analysis to determine the most significant psychological factor that influencing hotel staff participation. For the preferences in handling food waste, we use normality tests. Apparently the data is normally distributed, so we just used descriptive statistic and then followed by repeated measure ANOVA and also post hoc test to determine which is the most preferred method in handling the food waste. This is our first research finding. Most of the hotel staff is more motivated if they participated in voluntary donation. And from this finding, we also can see that attitude is the most significant and important psychological factor to influence hotel staff to participate in donation program, regardless of the donation program. In this research, we explore 4 donation program: voluntary, recognition, performance evaluation, and financial incentive or bonus. A recognition donation is when the hotel staff participate, we gave them a formal acknowledgement or appreciation. And in the performance evaluation donation, the hotel staff will be given extra credit if they perform well, and also these affect performance review and also promotional opportunities. However, if we can see that the hotel staff is less motivated if they participate in financial incentive donation, this finding suggests that this is not aligned with their religious values, while the voluntary donation is aligned with their religious value in doing the charity. Next, we also see that age is the most influential socio-demographic background that influence the hotel staff participation. For youth, for them, donation with financial incentive is more important because usually the youth staff is a contract staff or early entry staff. They need more financial incentive rather than other things. So in order to participate, they need a positive attitude and also support from their peers, from their superior, or even their friends in work. And we can see from the adult, they more motivated if they participate in performance evaluation because they tend to chase the promotion. They tend to chase a promotion things. So for adult staff, they more motivated in this donation program. And in order to successfully participate, they need support from their superior or even peers, and also they need high time management skill because adult staff tend to have more responsibilities and also more job demands. This is our findings from this research, that there are 2 types of surplus food in hotel. The first one is leftover foods, and the second one is the cooked food. Cooked food means the food that has been cooked but not displayed in the buffet. So from this research, we find that the staff already have the knowledge to handle the food waste. We can see for the leftover foods, staff prefer to donate the food repurposed or consumed by staff, and for the cooked food, staff prefer only to repurpose it. And we also find a unique things in this research. The sell in discounted price is the second least preferred food waste method because this method is uncommon in Bandung, while in Jakarta selling food at discounted price is more common. So the summary for this research is 75 respondents indicated a willingness to voluntarily participate in surplus food donation, and then attitude is the most influential and significant psychological factors. Youth staff need peer and superior support, while adult staff require time management skill. And also hotel staff prefer donate, repurpose, and leftover consumption for surplus food handling method. And these are the practical recommendations in adopting surplus food donation in Bandung. For hotel management can develop shift or rotation system for staff to ensure that all staff can participate, particularly for adult staff who have high job demands. And hotel staff can educate and train staff for surplus food donation, form task force consisting youth and adult staff, reward participation with appreciation, and also hotel management can give an extra credit for their participation in their job performance. And for academics, we recommend them to integrate surplus food donation in higher education curriculum, especially for hospitality program, and also academics can hold food waste training. Thank you for listening and your attention.
Thank you so much, Peter, for your presentations. It's very interesting again to learn that actually food donation is not only the interest of the buyers, not only the interest of the consumers, but also the staff of the hotels are having a motivation to share their surplus foods to the people. Now it's maybe the last question is by the hotel management, whether they want to support these ideas or not. Thank you. So we will move on to the next presentation, last but not least, from Sabil on From Policy to Plate, a systematic review of global intervention and consumer readiness for sustainable diets in Indonesia. The time is yours.
Thank you very much for the time. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Muhammad Sabil Mahajirin. I'm an individual researcher from Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Okay, let me begin with a very simple question. Have you ever wondered where your food really come from? If no, most people assume that food is simply from the kitchen, but in reality, food is traveled along from farm and industry to transportation and supermarket before reaching your table now and somehow end up with the food waste. This entire journey is what we call food system. When we look deeper, food is not just about taste and nutrition, but it's also about environmental footprint. Is that our food system has contributed to environmental degradation, particularly greenhouse gas emission and climate change. A single plate of red meat that you consume today might only contribute to a small portion of global emission, but could you imagine 1 million plates consumed every day? The cumulative impact is enormous, showing how powerful consumer choice can be in shaping a more sustainable food system. But the problem is, food systems account for nearly 30% of total emission. In response, global policymakers and researchers are now focusing on sustainable diet as a key solution to balance human health and environmental protection. The good news is that Indonesia's recent free meal program could be a strategic opportunity to integrate sustainable principles while improving nutritional outcome. However, Indonesia still faces the greater challenge in addressing sustainable food system. In production stage, the food estate program intended to improve food security in Indonesia has contributed to deforestation and driven climate change. In the consumption stage, the free meal program also faces the critical challenge such as potential health risks, inconsistent food choice, and inadequate food waste management that ultimately depend on how young people choose, consume, and value the meals. Understanding their behavior in adopting sustainable diet behavior, therefore essential to ensure the program deliver long-term nutritional and environmental benefit. This issue has motivated us to explore the two key questions. The first is what type of intervention that has been implemented to promote sustainable diet and what factor that contribute to their success. And the second is how ready are Indonesian customers, especially youth, to adopting sustainable dietary practice. To identify the global intervention, we were using a systematic review based on a BRISMA guideline. They cover seven steps of study selection with inclusion criteria. In the end, 55 studies were meet the requirement and were included for analysis. We also conduct a staff report online survey to understand how Indonesian urban young customers perceive environmental benefit of sustainable diet behavior, on how ready they are to adopt it. Their participation is fully voluntary. We collect the data from demographic, food choice motive, perceived environmental benefit across non-behavior, and their readiness stage. A total of 206 respondents participate on this survey. Building on the survey that I explained before, we refer on the 9 sustainable diet recommendation from Clifford and Bradbury to assess how participants perceive environmental benefit. Perceived environmental benefit means perception on the positive consequence that are caused by a specific action, especially for 9 sustainable diet recommendation. To understand their behavior readiness, we apply 6 trans-theoretical model, 6 tests of trans-theoretical model that capture individual whether are not changing yet, starting about it, preparing, taking an action, or maintaining the behavior. We also incorporate food choice motive, age food choice motive, to see what driver the dietary decision, and all response were then processed by descriptive analysis, cross-step analysis, and multinomial logistic regression. Over the past few decades, research on sustainable diet has grown rapidly, with the most intervention focusing on behavior and clinical intervention, followed by integrated multi-dimensional assessment, and policy analysis remain limited. There is a 4 key group of factors that continuously shape the successful of sustainable diet promotion, including the first is socio-demographic, such as age, gender, income, and education, which influence dietary patterns and motivation to adopt sustainable diet. Second is psychosocial, which capture individual level drivers such as social awareness that can shape individual readiness to change their habit. Next is structural, related to food environment that supported by efficient supply chain and infrastructure. And the last is policy factor, including adherence of national dietary guideline and coherent food system that create an enabling environment for sustainable behavior. In our consumer survey, the majority of respondents were female, undergraduate students, and age 11 to 20. This data has told us that our sample is more dominated by young, early start learners who are still forming their dietary habits. For the example, this is the distinct protein preference among young customers. Wet meat and seafood are eaten most frequently, followed by plant-based protein. Red meat and processed alternative are consumed far less often. This shift aligns with global dietary trends toward reducing red and processed meat due to its health and environmental concern. But in Indonesian context, the low red meat intake is not driven by environmental concern, but more by its higher cost. In perceived environmental benefit, consumers see action like choosing seasonal, local, or organic food as most impactful because it's feasible and easy to grasp. Action like choose sustainable fish or priorities plant protein sit in the modern stage. In contrast, avoiding highly fattening food or reduce red and processed meat are score lower because they need a deeper awareness and face habit and cultural barriers. This slide shows how far Indonesia adopting different sustainable dietary practice. They are most advanced in behavior that easy and low effort, like choosing local and seasonal food or reducing food waste. The action require moderate life adjustments such as choose sustainable fish and prioritize plant protein are fall into moderate stage. But the most challenging is to avoiding air fried food or red processed meat are remain on the lower stage. The slide so had like the how demographic factor can shape individual perception on environmentally food choice. Age and education play a strong role, especially those who are older and high education, that likely to view some action like avoid excess packaging, reduce air fattening food, choose sustainable fish and reduce food waste. Meanwhile, gender differences are often minimal, meaning that women and men perceive environmental action similarly. And this slide is show that gender, educational, and age are significantly influence readiness to change eating behavior. Female and high educated people is less likely to change their certain action, but teenagers are more willing to make a sustainable choice. Overall age tend to predict the positive change, but gender and education have significant negative influence to the sustainable choice. And this is the inclusion of our study that effective intervention should prioritizing behavior and clinical intervention followed by robust policy analysis. Success shaped by 4 factors. There is socio-demographic, psychosocial, structural, and policy factors. So strategies must address this element to make a real impact. And the overall consumer are most ready to adopt sustainable diet practice that feel easy, familiar, and low effort. Action require bigger lifestyle change, show much lower readiness, and this show that perceived effort remain the stronger barrier to broader sustainable diet adoption. Thank you very much for me. This is enough. I sending back to the host.
Thank you very much. Please give Sabil a round of applause. Thank you very much. Another interesting point here that I learned from this presentation is that talking about behavior change, apparently it is most effective. Basically, it's affected by demographic quite a lot, especially about gender, age, and also educational stage or phase, educational background. It's very interesting, and it can be a good modality to continue further studies on behavior change. Thank you very much. So now we have like 15 minutes for question and answer. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to start with the questions and with the questions? There's one over there. 2, 1 more maybe. No? Okay, so we start with 2 questions. First, yes, we can start with yourselves. Thank you. Please introduce yourself first and then raise the question.
Hello everyone, my name is Putu Aris Gunarta. You can call me Putu. I'm from IPB University, master students. My major is about climate, so that's true. The food loss and food waste increase the emission. But the things that I want to ask is difference. Although numerous behavioral models addressing the food loss and food waste have been developed, but only very few have been successfully implemented or scaled within our local communities. What do you think about that? What factors hinder their successful adaptation, and how can this challenge be effectively addressed to ensure that behavioral change strategies can be applied, sustainable, and widely spread through the local communities? Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Putu. Are you addressing this question to any specific speakers or to all of them?
Maybe all of them a little bit.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. So the questions is basically how to address behavior change, how to make the behavior change effective, especially to the local communities. Is that correct? Okay, that's the first question. And then the next questions.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. My name is Afan. I'm from WRI, Indonesia. My question is to all the presenter. Well, basically my question is, what do you think about the potential of showcasing or integrating local knowledge in the behavior change? Because from what I've seen from the presentation from Mas Sabin, for example, cultural dimension does not account in the literature review study that you did, or maybe you found it, or are there any out of the 57 literature? Has there been any article that discuss about cultural dimension or the local knowledge in advancing behavior change? And also from Peter's presentation, faith also played an integral role in food saving behavior, and does that account to local knowledge? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alvan. So the second question is on how to integrate the local knowledge to behavior change. I think from all the 4 presentations, I hear at least 3 of you mention about the role of religious or faith. So maybe please address these 2 questions in a short manner, maybe just in 1 paragraph or so. Maybe I will give the opportunity to Hosi first.
Thank you, Mas Putu, for the question. I will answer the question. Why the behavior change cannot sustain? In our case, in our key studies, we found that when the behavior change must be fit with the local context. It's the point, and maybe the behavior change that already developed nowadays not fit with that. So based on our research, the behavior change when fit with the local context, collaborate among the local stakeholders, it can reduce household food waste significantly. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, and then Peter.
Thank you for the question, Mas Putu. I think for the behavior change to be effective for local communities, that the first thing to do is I agree with Hosi that sometimes we need to embed the local context into the behavior change. And also for my presentation, in Bandung, our respondent is quite religious, and Bandung is also known for the religious city, and they think that actually from the first we
It's okay.
It's okay. Can I answer this question in bahasa Indonesia?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Mas Putu, untuk riset saya awalnya memang kita ingin membuat hipotesis gitu ya. Apakah dengan insentif itu hotel itu mau melakukan donasi gitu? Pada kenyataannya itu tidak terjadi karena yang pertama kita tahu kalau Bandung itu memang kota yang cukup religius gitu, dan pegawai hotel itu merasa kalau misalkan melakukan donasi terus dibayar, mereka malah enggan untuk melakukan itu karena kok saya beramal tapi kok saya malah dibayar gitu. Jadi itu sebenarnya nggak terlalu align gitu dengan value-value mereka. Dan menurut saya setuju dengan Hoshi juga kalau memang untuk mengubah perilaku itu memang harus memperhatikan lokal konteksnya. Nah, contohnya untuk di makanan surplus ini yang terlihat adalah budaya religiusnya itu. Nah, terus juga untuk saya sekalian jawab untuk Mas Afan ya. Mas Afan tadi nanya apakah kalau nilai-nilai religius itu termasuk lokal konteks ya. Dalam konteks riset saya memang itu termasuk salah satu lokal konteks, dan itu memang perlu dipertimbangkan untuk mengubah behavior dari hotel, bukan hotel aja tapi hotel manajemen juga perlu memperhatikan itu gitu, supaya memang ada perubahannya gitu untuk hotel itu mau melakukan donasi makanan. Tadi saya ketinggalan juga tadi dari Mas Putu apa faktor yang menghambatnya. Kalau di Kota Bandung itu salah satu faktor yang menghambatnya saat ini itu hotel-hotel enggan untuk melakukan donasi makanan surplus ini karena yang pertama belum ada regulasinya. Jadi kayak hotel takut kalau mereka kasih makan terus ketahuan dari hotel A, terus ada yang keracunan, itu siapa yang bertanggung jawab? Apakah harus hotel? Nah, kalau hotel harus bertanggung jawab, mereka juga takut citra mereka rusak gitu. Makanya dengan adanya riset ini kami juga berusaha untuk mengadvokasikan kebijakan terutama di donasi makanan surplus, setidaknya supaya ada perantaranya atau distributornya supaya ketika makanan didonasikan ditangani oleh food bank, dan ini juga menjadi food bank menjaga nama dari hotel tersebut. Tapi juga sekarang jadi masalahnya adalah food bank pun belum ada regulasi yang jelas gitu. Jadi memang untuk mengubah ini semua, kalau untuk kasus donasi makanan itu perlu ada fondasi payung hukumnya gitu. Mungkin dari saya situ aja.
Okay.
I think that's all.
Thank you very much, Peter, for your answer. And then Sabil.
Okay, thank you for Mas Putu. Honestly, I never had a research needs about the food waste, so I cannot clearly answer this question. But hearing the peer of researchers, I agree about the local context to incorporate with the regulation, and I will state that the adherence of local community to the regulation, it should be prioritized, because when one of them are not adherent to the regulation, it can be affect to the other, so the behavior will be changed. So, and the question from Mas Hanif about maybe about in the term of sustainable diet, it will be defined as cultural food sustainability, and there is a lot of article that explain the cultural sustainability, and one of them are highlight the importance of food heritage and local knowledge, because in this term are very supporting to the non-sustainable behavior, such as when we are eat the local, we are supporting such as avoiding excess packaging, or consuming the seasonal local produce. And there is many behavior that can be support, especially in the days ago I explored the food vlogger when they are performing the food to the audience, and the term that I assess from the sustainability is the cultural food sustainability also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sabil. Next, Miss Anuri. Do you want to respond to the questions as well?
Yes, please. So thank you, Gina. So I would like to answer a question from Putu. So maybe I will like to answer in terms of the much more broader in terms of sustainable food system as a whole. So I guess the difficulty in adopting the sustainable food system is mainly due to lack of dissemination process. So it's very important for our public to increase the awareness on the understanding of what is sustainable food system and what is sustainable and healthy diet as a whole. And at the same time, from the viewpoint of the top down, from the government to the public itself, there is a disconnecting process between the climate policy to raise the sustainable aspect and the nutritional guidelines under the Ministry of Health in of the healthy diet. So we should somehow connect the bridges, and there are many global initiatives that already try to capture this in terms of what they call as planetary health diet. So maybe we can somehow try to adopt this initiative to the national scale. And also for Afan question about the potential to integrate local knowledge, I think it's quite interesting if we're looking in the picture of the food diversification, because after the mega rice project, there is a large scale of food uniformity in terms of the food industry and food production. So it's very difficult to sort of diverse the source of the consumption from the carbohydrates, like for rice and cassava, and at the same time to substitute the consumption on red meat. There's also the need to diversify the source of the protein intakes to fish, because we are the maritime country, so we have a lot of fish production itself. So there, I think that's a very good point that raised by Afan. That's all for me.
Thank you very much for your answer, Ms. Anuri. Lastly, I think, Hosi, you haven't answered the second question from Afan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Afan, for the question. What we can do to showcase our knowledge, our local knowledge, maybe we can disseminate and advocate our knowledge firstly, and at least from the local stakeholder, for the local stakeholders. As we know, we can push like per while that regulation. Yes. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We only have 1 minute left, so I think that's gonna be the end of our session. Thank you very much for all the speakers for your presentation, and very nice learning. I learned a lot from each of your presentations. I think, is there any announcement from the committee? Yes, there is. Okay, so I will hand over to committee. Yes, give a round of applause to all the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. So we have finished this session, and we will have another plenary discussion too to close up our event today. At 2:35 p.m., there will be a plenary discussion too at the ballrooms, titled "Feeding the Future: Blue Food, Climate Resilience, and Social Inclusion in Action." So please feel free to go move to the ballroom right now. Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Miss Anuri, we will be taking picture together. We are preparing the screen, and you can also be ready. Ada wallpaper yang untuk sesi ini nggak? Mungkin bisa jadi background. Yang Miss Anurinya udah pergi ya dari Zoom? Udah cabut ya? Oh ya udah, oke. Kalau gitu mungkin backgroundnya bisa ditampilin kali ya yang sesi ini. Oh di sana, sorry salah lihat.
Candid dulu ya, Candid. Udah belum Mas? Yang terakhir Mas. Ayo. Woi. Ngomong 2 1 2 3. Udah. Makasih banyak.
Recording stopped.